Hello, hello, and welcome to School Leader Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica V. Sofer, and I have the opportunity to drop in every week and give you some great strategies and techniques and ideas that are going to help you thrive as an education leader. Here at Saturday Soundbites, we're all about connecting with each other, learning and growing, and making sure that we're providing the best we absolutely can for our students. Before we get into today's topic of making sure your community is informed on what you're doing, let's make sure we take care of some housekeeping. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of School Leader Soundbites. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop me some comments so I can be sure to connect with you. So let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic. We're going to talk about PD days and what they are. You know, our community has a complaint that's pretty consistent across the board, and that is that we use a lot of acronyms. And PD day for us obviously means professional development, but it doesn't mean that for everyone. So oftentimes we have to remember that our audience is listening through a filter and through a lens that is from based on their experiences. So we as lifelong educators and folks who have been in the industry for a long time, we have a tendency to use a lot of acronyms. So part of our responsibility is to educate them on what it is that we're doing in our school district. It builds trust, it makes sure that everyone is on the same page, and it helps us to temper people's expectations. So we know that PD days are essential for educators. We build them into our calendar. We invest a lot of money in professional development because we know that it brings value. As lifelong learners, this is something that most of us even have written in our strategic plans. But we're not always doing the best job of explaining to people why we have them and how they're going to benefit students. So let's think about that. I want to point to a study that we found, research published by the Institute of Multisensory Education. They found that teachers who receive substantial professional development make a much greater impact on students. And we know that's true. Student achievement is impacted by a lot of different things, but the more access and resources that our teachers have to best practices, the more beneficial it is to our students. So we're always trying to make sure that we embed that into what it is we're doing for our adults. So if we are designing a high quality education with high quality seats, we need to make sure that our students are getting the best of their teachers. So let's make sure that we are sharing with our community why professional development days are important, because sometimes parents get really frustrated that it impacts their work schedule or their adjustments to their childcare. So we need to make sure that we are creating options for them. And this is what we might call a communication gap. So when we think about why we value them, we need to think about how we can bring our parents and our community alongside us so that they too can value those professional development days. Students may not be present, but they're benefiting, and we need to make sure that they know that. So when I'm working with communities across the country, I will say that it's pretty consistent and that they're not explaining the why behind some of the calendar decisions that are being made. And this is the time of year when calendars are being considered, when parents are providing input, where our business community is challenging the schedules that we're proposing. And so it's important for us to share all of that information. It also points to the importance of transparency. Parents want to know all the details. They want to have access to the reasons behind the decisions that we're making. And oftentimes they want source documentation. So, just like that example of the research study that I showed you, it might be beneficial to attribute some of the decisions that you're making to research that is helping to shape your recommendation. So, whenever possible, make sure you're adding footnotes to the content that you're providing, because I think that will help some parents better understand why it is that they may feel like they're being inconvenienced, but that it's really beneficial to their student and to the school system. So transparency is key. So some best practices: clearly explain the purpose of the professional development day to parents and to students. We can't just let our students think that teachers are getting a free day to do whatever it is that they want. We need to make sure the students are appreciating and learning that their instructors are getting content and that they're also being encouraged to pursue more learning as well. And then share any specific topics or highlight any particular training that you might be getting. I have a very dear friend who's heavily involved in fentanyl education, and she's traveling the country sharing what it is that she knows and making sure that parents and educators have resources so that they can make a difference. This is a great opportunity if you're doing a particular training like that to highlight the expert that you've brought in, even share their resources, any books that they've written or content that they've created, so that parents who want to know more about that topic can dive deep into it themselves. This helps parents stay engaged. It helps parents know that you are ahead of the curve, that you are in learning mode, and that you are doing everything you can to make sure that their student has access to the latest and greatest resources and information that are going to make a difference for them. And then another best practice, it's highlight the positive impact. So anytime there's data to support how professional development has moved the needle, I encourage you to use it. Most of our superintendents, when they're evaluated by their boards of trustees or either boards of education, will look to data to demonstrate movement, especially if it's in the positive direction. So making sure that you're tracking how professional development is impacting your district will also be really impressive to our community, because you're going to want to pull out that data when you go to them and ask for their support, especially when you're talking about a bond election or a tax rate election or any type of election where you're going to impact their finances. You want to make sure that you're not only demonstrating you're a good steward of their resources, but that you are a good steward of the information that teachers are getting as part of their professional development. So you want to make sure that you're building trust. And one of the ways you measure that is by asking. So if you're using several survey tools, make sure that you're capturing the type of data that you're going to need so that you can make a case for any new initiative changes or any calendar changes that you're considering. If you don't have a partner to track that data, then I want you to check out K-12 Insight. K-12 Insight is a friend of School Leader Soundbites. I have used a lot of their different products in some of the districts that I've been in. And one of the ones that I like that's really effective is the Let's Talk platform. It really helps you forecast topics that people are interested in. It's a two-way communication. It helps you get feedback and it restore trust if that's something that you're working on in your district. And it really helps foster that transparent communication. So if you're interested in learning more about them, check them out at k12insight.com/SOPHER and told them that Veronica sent you. So let's dive a little bit more into why sharing how PD days make a difference. It's really part of your bigger strategy. A strategy for effective communication. It needs to be well thought out. There needs to be an objective, your target audience, your tone, your measure, and you need to be able to connect with people in a lot of different ways. So some best practices to share your communication strategy, especially about professional development opportunities, is to either hold informational workshops or sessions or embed that into open house. So when you've got parents coming up to open house at the beginning of the fall, make sure your principal is sharing what happens on their campus on professional development days so that parents know with confidence that the leadership on the campus is very committed to making sure parents are informed and they know what's happening in the building. You also might want to create a dedicated space on your website to talk about some professional development trainings that have happened, maybe even share some pictures or some insights. I love seeing on social media teachers on PT days when they are using that hands-on learning strategy and technique, and you see the light shine on just like we do in the classroom. It gets really exciting. And so we want to make sure that our parents and our community have an opportunity to celebrate that as well. And then, of course, sharing all of that on your social media platforms is just another great way of doing it. You know, one of the benefits I have as a school communications consultant is that I get to travel around the country and work with school districts year round on their professional development. I have also partnered with K-12 Insight for customer service training. So whether or not you're a client of mine or a client of K-12 Insight, if you are interested in customer service, be sure to check us out because I can come in with my team and deliver exceptional customer service training that is rooted in self-care, which is really a great way to make sure that the staff has some base understanding of expectations for communication standards, but then also believes in them. And they believe in those standards because they get reconnected to them. And sometimes going through a really short webinar or training is not an effective way to create that connection with someone. We want that learning to really be personalized. So when you can bring an expert onto your campus for maybe a half day or even a full day, you're investing in their learning. And those are the kinds of things that we want parents to know about what we're doing. I was recently in a school district where they shared on social media that my team and I were there delivering customer service. And the feedback was fantastic, not only from the teachers and from the staff, but from the parents, to see that their teachers, their beloved teachers, were also having a day of learning and they were being tested and really getting pushed outside their comfort zones a little bit. So that was a really fun thing to share. So anytime you've got someone delivering customer service or any type of professional development training, whether it's an internal person or an external person, celebrate it. We want to celebrate all of our wins, and learning for adults is a big win for our educational system. So, as I wrap that up, I just want to remind you that we use a lot of acronyms. PD is one of them, and we have to explain what it is and why it is we're using it. It is a great way to earn trust. It is a great way to pull the curtain behind what's happening in your district and make sure that parents and our community members know that we are committed to adult learning and making sure that everyone in our system is a lifelong learner. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please share it with your peers. We want to get as many school leaders listening to School Leaders Soundbites, and make sure that they're getting the benefit of learning from each other as well. So, let's connect. Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss any episode. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop some comments so I can be sure to circle back. And if you've got any great ideas or topics you want us to chat about, be sure to drop those in there as well. So I'll go ahead and wrap up this week's episode by reminding you to stay firm in your communication strategies. Make sure you've got a plan in place and make sure that you are sharing your story. We'll catch you next time.